And we're good to go. Yes. And a very good afternoon to you, one and all. I'm your host, George Sheppard, for a very special episode of the Man That Can podcast. Today on the show, we've got our very first guest, Mr. Lachlan Stuart, who seemingly has lost his marbles and has decided to run 58 marathons, across 58 states in 58 days. An absolutely insane task that I don't believe anybody has ever accomplished before. And I've prepared some hard-hitting questions here for the man himself. Don't you cheat. Don't you look ahead at the answers, at the questions. But, well, shall we just get started? Are you nervous?
I'm nervous, and are we running with that voice today?
I would be nervous. I would be very nervous too.
Class.
Yes, we are running with this voice today, and if I get tired of it, I will stop. But right now, I'm having quite a bit of fun. So the very first question, Lachlan Stuart, what the fuck is wrong with you? What inspired you to take on such an extreme challenge? And how did you come up with the idea of 58 marathons in 58 states in 58 days? The viewers want to know.
The viewers want to know. I almost want to put on an accent for this one too. Firstly, happy birthday.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, it is your 37th day around the sun.
It is, and I appreciate you saying so. Stop dodging the question.
You taking some time out of your day for this. So, why? What inspired it, was the question?
Yes, I believe it was what the fuck is wrong with you?
Well, what the fuck is wrong with me has been... It's a question we'll probably never get to the bottom of. I think I'm just not all there.
What inspired this challenge?
The challenge was inspired by the fact that I was sitting in America, and for the last 12 months, I've not been able to do a lot of things from a career standpoint, and I've watched you guys, live an inspired life and do what you want to do. And I've always had this idea that that's what I want to be doing. Amy inspired me to do that 10 years ago. And then obviously as we've spent more time together, and Emma, I see you all doing it. And so for me, I'm like, well, I'm very happy with my life, got a great life, but I want to do more. And then I had a podcast guest, which was at the time the podcast guest that I was telling you I was most excited about, James Lawrence, Iron Cowboy. He did 50 Ironmans, 50 days across 50 states with his family. And I was like, man, that's pretty cool. That would be a great way to see the country. And the idea went around my head, and I was like, I can't do that because he's already done that. I need to do something different. So I borrowed his idea, and then I was like, maybe the USA states, the New Zealand states, and the Australian states. And then I realized New Zealand doesn't do states. They do like regions. And there was 16 of the bastards. So I'm not doing 16 more marathons. So I scratched New Zealand and landed.
Nobody likes the Kiwis anyway.
Landed, all the Kiwis are going to come after you. Then we landed with Australia, and I was like, how good getting to try like two countries that obviously we live in the US, love Australia, and always will call it home, but get to see that because we've traveled probably more of America than we have Australia by car. And it's been cool to see those ones and then just have that adventure, but also get to challenge myself, bring community together, but also see what I'm made of. Like to try and maybe, I could imagine, George, that if I'm having 2,500 meters running, so that's about 1,000 hours of running, or 100 hours, maybe 100, sounds more correct. That's a lot of time to be in your head. I'm going to learn a lot about myself. So I think that's fun. And that's what I've done it for. And I hope as a byproduct, I inspire people to do greater things in their life. That's where we're at.
Very good. Actually, I will stop the shtick now because
hurting your eyes.
I can't see through those glasses. And this is actually a serious interview.
They look so ridiculous. I knew that it was awesome. I want to make
sure that we do get into the crux of what makes Lachlan tick here without becoming a comedic routine. You did mention that it's a lot of time spent up in your head. And one of my questions here, I'm just going to jump down a little bit because I feel like there's going to be quite a lot of moments where there's somebody running with you. People are coming on the journey with you, but for the most part, this is going to be a very long and lonely road for you.
Yeah,
and it's not just one marathon. This is 58 in a row, and there's going to be times when you're up in your own head and talking yourself out of it. How do you deal with that voice in your head, and how do you deal with those lonely moments on the road? Do you find peace in those moments, or
look? I'm not going to lie and say I find peace. I think there's definitely times where I do find peace. Like when I was testing back in Nashville doing back-to-back marathons and halves, they got to a point where I couldn't even listen to music. Like my head was just like it was just on a different planet. And I didn't enjoy that. I just needed to hear nature. Like that was awesome. So I'll be very interested to be in that state in a city where there's a lot of things going on. But I feel for myself, it's the challenge of how I'm going to respond to adversity, because I've chosen to do this. And the reason, one of the reasons why I've done it is I've always struggled. I'm sure you've seen me struggle with my mental health. Like some days I'm awesome and other days I'm, at rock bottom. And, but so for me, doing things like that puts me in that position by choice, and it allows me to choose how I respond to that. So I can either listen to what my voice is telling me, where it's like, quit, it's cold, or you're hurting, or you don't have to do this, or I can do what I choose to do, which is like push through it, and I know that I'm in control of my mind, which gives me more confidence on a sad and rainy day where I'm like, well, I've been here before, I've got to just ride it out. So I think for me, that's how I look at handling it. And another part of it is there are people that I know, work in mental health. So, a lot of people that are close to me, and myself included, have moments where they can't get control of that. And so I hope to inspire people by doing something that they may seem ridiculous. Sorry, they may view as ridiculous. To me, it's not super ridiculous, but to them go, well, if Lockie can do that, maybe I can get through whatever I'm going through. That's the idea. So there's like the intrinsic, the self battle that I'm always dealing with day in, day out. And then there's hopefully inspiring other people. And so when I'm losing the fight with myself, I sort of look bigger picture and I'm like, who's relying on me? What am I really doing this for? And I grab motivation. That's why it's so good when we travel. The six of us is like, now that we've spent so much time together, everyone sort of understands everyone's mood and what they need when they're in a specific mood. For me, it's like you guys accept that sometimes I just fucking want to be left in the back left-hand corner of the car and have my AirPods in and don't want to talk to anyone. And that's me recharging. It's not that I don't want to be around people. But then there's times where I'm maybe struggling, but then you'll say something stupid that's laughable, and then it pulls me out of that. And then vice versa, I'm sure we all lean on each other, and that's one of the best parts about community. So yeah, if I'm struggling, which I'm sure I definitely will, I'll have Liam there, or have Wes is coming along, or Etienne, or I'll be able to FaceTime you guys, and that will help. And I think one of the best things the best toolkit that I've built is understanding the things that help me and at what point I need to use them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And it's probably important to note that it's, because I get that whole thing of like being able to switch on that robot mode.
Yeah.
And, in a much lesser capacity, being sober for the entire year, which I've never done in my life.
Well done, by the way.
And this is my first birthday that I've not had a drink since I was 18. So this is
that why you're sweating right now?
beverage. No, I do appreciate that, because you can switch it on and off as like a robot mode, and nothing's going to get in the way. But this is like a next dimension of that, because it's not just like, Friday night rolls around, I could have a beer. No, I'm not going to do it. Like that's an easy decision to make. Whereas this is every single day for 58 days.
Yeah,
you're having to switch it on, and not just the runs. Like you've got the travel, and it's the logistics behind it, trying to make sure you're eating enough, making sure that your muscles aren't getting tight, all of the things that are around the
Liam's going to be busy rubbing my muscles.
Yeah, a little private time for the boys.
Private time for the boys.
But that like the runs, in an essence, are the easiest part of what you're about to do.
I agree.
So yeah, it is quite commendable that you're able to, have that mental challenge. And that leads into my next question. I mean, obviously you're doing the physical training, but how do you mentally prepare for something like this? What's the training like for the inside of the brain?
For me, I feel I've been training the mind for years, because if I think about, and there's a lot of people who listen to this, or even that I spend time around now, that didn't know me a decade ago when I was a different person. And for me, it's like every day I've been battling that. And people talk, I've had people talk about addiction, and I would never say I was addicted to anything apart from beating myself up internally. So I've spent my whole from the moment I finished school, beating myself up for not being good enough because I failed at football. I walked away, and even to these days, I have so many regrets about so many things. So every day, the fact that I can get up and get into the gym, because I don't like people think that I love training and I love getting up early, but it's just what I've conditioned myself to do because it's what I believe makes me the best version of myself. Because if I don't get up early, I then get in my head and I feel lazy. And people say switch. It's probably like people saying to you, go to bed early when your zone of genius is at night. For me,
My zone of genius is 24/7.
sorry, getting ahead of my. How dare I accuse? But
yeah, I know what you're saying there. Yeah.
So for me, I choose to be disciplined and do these things, and that's the battle. Like I'm always training my mind because to get up at whatever time I'm getting up 5 and consistently do that when it's cold, when it's I've not much sleep. Like even when we're on tour, I'm still getting up, still training, still working. Nothing stops, and that's me building that muscle. And so now it's just on a bigger scale. So I think when people look at it, whether it's the physical component that people are like gobsmacked at, or it's the logistical component, or it's having 2 months away from my wife, or whatever it is, to me, I've been training that on a smaller scale, just in what I do, much like, you've trained your ability to be able to, you may be having a crap day, but as soon as a fan walks in the door, you're on and no one would know what's going on. And so to me, I'm like, how the fuck do you do that? Because I would love to be able to do that, but I can't. But somehow you do. So for me, that's like what I'm in awe of, much like people on the other side. So I think everyone's got their thing. And the more you double down on it and condition it, whatever that looks like, you're always looking for, okay, how can I test it a little bit more? And for me, I'm just driven by the fact that I wouldn't say I'm in a point where I don't think I'm good enough, but I definitely haven't achieved what I think I'm capable of. So I'm doing what I feel. We all have a gift. I think my gift is like doing hard shit to like suffering or doing things that most people would never commit to doing, especially like in our mid-30s. Like the fact that I'm building this team to put it together. I've got people who actually believe in me, are investing financially and making this possible. To me is like super humbling. But it's also like, well, if I can do it at 33 and we've got a mortgage, we've got all these things going on, but I'm still taking 2 months out of my life, even more because training's so hectic, to do something that I want to do that I think is going to be a awesome adventure. I wish more people would do that. So yeah, I've definitely tangented in there, but
No, that was good. And you actually touched on something before that I do want to dig into, is the 2 months away from your wife.
I love this whiteboard you got going on, just scratching the questions out.
Well, I'm just making notes as to what I think going to flow this narrative.
Yep.
But the strain that this is obviously going to put on your marriage. You're going to spend 2 months away from your wife, and Amy's clearly worried about you, as we all are. I mean, we trust you, and we know that you know your body and all that stuff. But there's so much that's out of your control. How do you deal with that stress, and how do you deal with the fact that there must have been some tough conversations between you and your wife? How do you dissuade that doubt or that stress, that added stress that it puts on your marriage?
It's interesting because we haven't had any tough. Liam asked me about this the other day. He's like, has Amy like tried to talk you out of it at all? And she hasn't once. Like the initial, when I first mentioned it to Liam, and Liam didn't flinch at it. He was like, yeah, I'll do it. And I was like, okay, well, let's talk to the girls. And Amy's like, thought I was joking. And then maybe 2 weeks later, I was like, I think I'm like, I can't stop thinking about doing this now. Like, let's do it. And she was on board with it. And when we were on a walk the other day, I'm like, why haven't you tried to talk me out of it? And she's like, well, I think it would be, what's the word? Let's just say rude, because it's the first thing that has come to my head. When you've packed up your life to allow me to chase my dreams, why would I stop you doing what you want to do? And Amy and I have built that over the years because she's literally been with me through the most insane transformation of my life. Like from when I didn't know what I wanted to do, she helped support me when I didn't have money. She helped me and stayed with me when I was Uber driver. Like so many things that I'm just like, wow, like why would you do that? so she believes in me and wants me to be, fulfill what I want to believe in. I think we've had time apart, much like yourself and Kathleen, when you guys were touring for 9 months at a time, and we drop over for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then it's another 8 to 12 weeks apart. So we've done it before. Obviously, we're in a different stage of our life, and we haven't done that for maybe 5 or 6 years. We spend every day together, so it's going to be, it's probably going to be harder than I realize at the moment. But I think that she's supported me, so I don't feel that pressure. And I was saying to Liam the other day, I was like, this would be a fucking tough trip if I had to be worried about Amy messaging me every day, being like, I can't believe you're so selfish to do this and everything like that. Like, she just won't do that. And so for that, it makes everything so much easier. And the day that I finish, she's playing CMC Rocks the next day. So that's going to be a cool celebration.
Do you reckon you'll be in any state
Yes.
to be able to go to that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And what I believe, so my strategy, and
we'll have to like get a disability pass for you and wheel you in the front row, and you just sit there like,
with a drip in my arm getting fed. That'd be amazing.
Your legs will be cooked.
I honestly don't believe. I think I'll be walking the next day. I think I'll be fine. I am not going out here to like try and rip a PB every single day. My goal is to complete it at a time that's very comfortable. My training is a lot faster than what I'm going to be running at. So running at 5:47 kilometers to 6:15 kilometers, to me, I could do day in, day out. So
it's something to look forward to.
Yeah, I'm not worried about my body not being, I wouldn't be doing it if I believed that I wouldn't be able to train or move for months after it. Like, I wouldn't do that because that would destroy my mental health, because it's such an important part of my life, like waking up and training. So I'm very confident. This could be famous last words, but I'm very confident that I'll be, I don't dance anyway, so I can just stand on the side and tap my foot like this. I'll be fine.
Yeah, if your Achilles heel still works.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, Achilles tendon. So the logistics of this, I think we've all discussed this. You know your body. You know that you can do these runs.
Yeah.
You're claiming to be able to tap your foot at the end of it. How are you?
It's a bold claim.
It's a bold claim, Cotton. How are you going to be trying to mitigate as much of the risk in terms of the logistics as possible? Obviously, you got Liam there as your tour manager. We know that he's a great tour manager.
Yep.
But what other support staff do you have? Do you have food? Like, how do you know what if a flight gets delayed? What are you? What are your plans there?
So the simple solution to any problem going wrong, rather than panicking, is if I have to redo a marathon in that location, I'll redo a marathon, as much as I don't want that to happen. So to hopefully avoid that happening, what we're even doing with the route now is we're looking to get on like state lines, state borders where there's 4 states, so we can minimize driving, because obviously it's winter, so there's definitely going to be snow. There's probably going to be blizzards. So we can minimize that and maybe only have to do an hour drive, and then every sort of 4 days or 5 days do a sort of 3 to 6 hour drive. That's going to be much better for us and minimize things going wrong. From a food point, I've been working with my coach, even at the moment, trying to learn to eat enough is the biggest challenge for me, because I don't like, I'm not one of those foodie people who just think about their next meal.
How many calories a day do you have to consume?
During the run, we're looking at anywhere from 5,000 to 6,000 calories a day.
That's a piece of piss. I do that every day.
Yeah, and you still look that good? Wow.
Mate, just get 6 McFlurries and you're good.
Yeah, well, that's what I will be doing. I'll probably get to a point where that happens, but so I'm feeling pretty good about that. I'll obviously have meal timing and the team. So one of the things that I'm excited about is once we've got everything booked and everyone's ready, we'll have a team chat, and I'll just be sort of sharing expectations, because I can imagine I'll probably get moody at some point, and I don't want to be snappy or rude to anyone, because I do appreciate everyone giving up 2 months of their life or however long they're coming for to help. So the idea will be like, this is how I feel you guys can help. This is your job when you're here. Let's just do the best that we can in that moment, and obviously get feedback from them around things that I'm potentially missing. But the most important things is making sure that I'm that I'm fed. I'm obviously looking after my supplementation, and I'm sleeping well. If I can do those 3 things, everything else should take care of itself. Like, to me, this is way I think about it, is like your big moments when you're doing a show. I know you're saying the VIPs, it's like 5% of the day. The run for me is, I'm not going to give you a percentage, like a small percentage of everything that I've been training for, to do that. So it's like my celebration as much as it's going to suck. It's like every day, like waking up in a different place and getting to see new things and then get back in the car at the end and be proud of myself for doing that. That's like my celebration. And I've done the work in the lead up to be best prepared, as prepared as I can to that point. But yeah, flights will probably screw us up. That's why we've got a van in America. So the batteries may go flat because of the temperature. We're going to be sleeping in car parks at Walmart. Like, who knows what's going to happen? But that's what's going to make it an adventure. Like, that's what you've taught me.
A grand adventure.
That's what's like. I feel we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. We're not going to sit there and think the world's ending, because it's not. At the end of the day, I'm running. Like, it's not that bad.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Now, you're no stranger to a challenge. You've done a few of these kind of things before, most notably the world record, even though is not verified.
Yes.
42 rowing marathons, was it?
No, it's 30, but 42K.
42 Ks for
Yep.
30 days in a row.
Yep.
A month long on the ergo.
Mm.
What is it about this particular challenge that, what have you learned about yourself on this particular challenge, like as opposed to that last challenge?
Your body adapts.
Mm.
I still one person said to me, and I'm not going to name names, but one person said to me that I got a lot of respect for. I'll give you 5 days. And I was like, interesting. And so then it became about beating that and proving people wrong. But it was around day 7 to 11. My knees, like the back of my knees, just felt like you could feel them when I was pushing out. It was just like
the rowing.
Yeah, it was wild. But then day 11, I was like, I remember saying to Maddie Lane, I was like, I don't think I can do too many more. Like, my knees are fucked. And then day 11, no pain, nothing. Like, it just disappeared, and I was just crushing it. And then I just kept getting fitter and fitter and fitter and faster and faster and faster till day 30. And it was really interesting. So that was the biggest lesson, because a lot of people hit that pain point and they may have multiple painful days in a row, and so they stop.
I love it. So your body was trying to tell you to stop, and then it gave up. Because it was like, oh my God, this guy's not listening. So we better just shape up and catch up, because he's not stopping here.
He's so stupid. We just gotta let him go.
Should we increase the pain threshold, sir? Yes.
But you get and it's hard to say, but there's something about suffering something about intentional suffering that I enjoy, because it's just me versus me. I know most people quit, and to me, the reason why a lot of people are unhappy and they're lacking confidence is because they've quit. Like, whether it's pursuing a career that they want, or they've given up on a relationship, or they've given up on themselves. That's why a lot of people, if we look at mental health, there's so many variables: financially, relationships, physical health, recovery, lifestyle in general, that impact your mental health. So for me, if it's just me versus me, I know that if I'm struggling financially, I've been in this pit before, I can get myself out of it. If there's tension in the relationship, I've been in this pit before, once again, I can get myself out of it. And it just puts complete responsibility back on me to do whatever is necessary to complete it. So I love that. As much as I hate it, I know that when I get through it, I'm just going to be sitting there with the biggest smile. I love that feeling.
Yeah, defeating yourself.
Yeah, I can't wait. Like, that's what, even thinking about that now, I want to start tomorrow. But then for the 4 hours when I'm doing it, I'm like, I hate this.
What's the most amount of marathons you've done in a row up to this point?
Three. Yeah, so nothing. So it's a big question I keep getting asked on social media. What's the training load going to look like in the lead up to it? And I asked Dean, because if I hadn't outsourced coaching, I would have been like, yeah, I'll do 7 in 7 days or something.
Dean's your coach?
Dean's my coach, and he's a lot smarter than I am. So he said, we're just going to work with your fitness and see how your body's going. So the intent of the training block is to just get as many kilometers on your legs, without injuring yourself, because you need to be ready for it. So there is no point doing 7 marathons in 7 days or anything, because all you're doing is starting the challenge earlier. And it's like, all of a sudden, it's not 58 marathons, it's 64. And your goal is to complete the 58. So we just need to have you ready for that. So whatever I'm wearing so many wearables. He's so on top of my training, my kilometers and my speeds. And it's awesome. It's awesome watching it as a coach myself, watching how analytical he is over my body and my heart rate and all of the sleep, to make sure that I'm every day in the best position possible to have a good training session. It's just like one training session at a time. Eating well, sleeping well gets me ready for the next training session. So,
because it's interesting how, like, because it's never been done before, how do you train as a trainer, how do you train somebody for something that's never been achieved?
Literally, I would hate to be in his position, because I thought about it when I was running a couple of days ago. I'm like, I wonder if someone approached me to train them for this, like, what would I say to them? Or like, how would I periodize that?
Like,
and I like, yeah, no, you go.
I was going to say, like, if somebody was like, all right, I'm going to swim underwater without taking a breath from Australia to New Zealand, I need your help to train me. And he's like, well, that's,
dude, you're going to die.
Yeah. But if it's Lachlan Stuart, he's like, no, I'm not going to die. I know my body.
I know. Yeah. I don't. No, I don't know. So I think, you know, I'm appreciative that he did, because I was looking for coaches, and I've known Dean for a number of years. He's done a lot of triathlons and all, you know, really quick marathon runner. And I was just like, he's the guy for the job, because he talks a lot about nutrition. He's, you know, very adamant on not getting injured, whereas some people would just be like, righto, man, you're running a marathon a week for the next 24 weeks.
Get injured.
And I'd get injured and I wouldn't be doing it. So I like his approach to training is very similar to mine, where it's just like, I think for the runs, it's get the body condition, but the mind's going to be the thing that gets you there.
Do you have a mantra? Like, what's your in those moments where you want to give up?
But maybe we could get one. To be fair, Delta, if you're listening, so all in my primary school and up to probably 16 years of age, whenever I was training for track, I'd always listen to Born to Try by Delta Goodrem on repeat. And that's probably where I developed the habit of listening to songs on repeat that Amy very much dislikes. So Delta, if you want to...
I'm sure she's subscribed.
Right, man. Yeah, I'm sure. Definitely her demographic.
Born to Try.
But that's a tune. Or maybe you could write me a song, a mantra song.
Yeah.
If you were doing it, what would your mantra be?
Keep going. Just keep going.
Just keep running.
One more step.
What's it? The fish off Nemo?
Dare to dream. Yeah, just keep swimming.
Just keep swimming. Yeah. Just keep running, one step at a time.
All right, bit of a fun question here.
Oh,
bit of a change of tone.
Is this from a caller? Did someone?
This is from Justin, 13 years old. Running through 58 different states, both in the US and Australia, It's going to give you some pretty unique perspectives on the landscape and the cultures. What are you most looking forward to experiencing during this journey? Which part of each country are you most excited to run through?
Oh, for some reason, like Montana or that area where we were on your tour, like getting to explore those mountains. We were touring with Sheppard, and it was from Salt Lake to, where did we end up at Salt Lake? After somewhere between Salt Lake and wherever we ended up next.
Yeah.
Maybe Seattle. There was this town, and we arrived at 2 a.m. or something. It was pitch black, and it felt like there was a ranch we're staying at. And I was like, I'm going to be up at 5 a.m. if this is a ranch. Like, I'm going to peep out the window in the morning, and if it's a ranch. And it was. And we were surrounded by these incredible mountains and this beautiful farm, and I got up and made a coffee off 3 hours, and I just loved it. Like, that, to me, like that's like my dream landscape. So being in Montana or any of those areas and getting to run with the mountains around, and obviously using your drone, which you're going to lend us, aren't you? So doing, having those, just getting to see that on foot. Like, it's like you exploring, or when we went exploring New York on bike, like I feel like when you're on foot or on a scooter or something, like you see the areas in a completely different way to a car. So definitely those areas. I think New York at night is going to be pretty, in the snow is going to be pretty amazing as well. Like in winter, be very different. But even then, just coming back to Australia, I've never really run around Adelaide or Tasmania, done a lot of running around Brisbane, but just being in the home state and hopefully having a heap of people run with us, that'll be pretty incredible. I think Australia is just as unique, and that's why I'm so excited to run around it, because I've never explored it that way. We're always flying or we're always in a car. So, I just think I'm very excited. I was inspired by you with your vlogging every day, and like, I never understood how great it's actually been until you can just click on an episode and be like, holy crap, that's what we did that day. I completely forgot.
Yeah.
So being able to look back
George's Journal on YouTube. Check it out. A little plug there. Thank you, Lockie.
No, you're welcome. $1. So being able to have 58 days of our trip or our adventure vlogged to look back on and be able to tell stories, because no one's done, people have done the 50 states of America, but no one's done the time zone or like that adventure. Like, how do we go from bloody San Francisco running a marathon straight onto a flight to running one straight away in Hawaii to then get on another flight straight to Sydney, arrive at night and run another one? Like, that's going to be pretty challenging, I would imagine.
Crossing that date line.
Oh, it's going to be horrible.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think I'm just so excited for all of it. Like, there's going to be some places that we venture into that won't be as exciting, but at the
majority of it's going to be flat, arid farmland.
Yeah.
Once you pass like Texas on the map of the USA, or the whole East Coast is just flat.
Yeah.
There's like a really awesome mountain range, the Rockies. It runs through all the way down through to Arizona, where there's these like absolutely astounding rock monuments. And then you get to like New Mexico, and then you just hit flat, farmland.
True.
And I think that'll be the real mental head fuck.
And that's straight away. But we are starting in Alaska, so that is going to be cool.
Good start.
Probably never would go. I can't see myself ever going there, like, just because. So that'll be cool. Yeah.
Question from Amy: is your life insurance up to date?
Is that really from Amy? When do you get a yarn to her?
I was like, how do you handle injuries or the risk of burnout when running so many marathons consecutively? But I feel like you've sort of dealt with that.
Yeah, I dealt with.
But
no, my life insurance is not up to date, darling.
And the question for Amy: is your life insurance up to date?
Yeah. No. Sort that one out. That's on the
N-O exclamation mark. Better sort that quick.
Naughty.
Were there any moments in your life previously, not counting the rowing challenge that you did, where you faced a relatively similar challenge? And how did that experience prepare you for this monumental task? And it doesn't have to have been like...
like a number of day event. It could be just like one moment that was...
Could be one moment that, in perspective, felt as challenging as this will.
I've got two. Can I use two?
You can use two.
So the first one, when I was 11 years old, and I won the cross country when I was 10, which is not a big deal, but as a kid, it's a big deal because I made my first rep team.
Mm-hmm.
And I was obviously, when I say obviously, just the people who knew me were probably sharing how I should probably win again. And I was winning. And I remember we were coming up, this was in Millmerran, and I started having an asthma attack. And I was like, I can't lose this. Like, I've got to keep trying to go. And I was like slowly not being able to breathe. And in my head, I'm like, I can't quit. And then it got to the point where I was like, I think I'm going to fucking die here. So I quit. And that stood with me. I remember like falling over to the fence, and medics came, and I was crying. And I'm 11 years old. I'm watching these people, like, I was winning by a fair way, finally catch up and start running past. And I was just shattered. I was like, I'm never going to allow myself to quit something again. And I'm also going to just make sure I'm on top of that. So Mum, I used to have this thing called a nebulizer, which was a machine to help me breathe and open up my lungs. And I always tried to skip it because I was like, I don't need that. And after that, I started taking...
It's a nerd device.
Yeah, it's a bloody nerd device. Keeps you alive. But I started taking like my health a lot more seriously after that point, because I was like, the only reason why I lost that, in my opinion, was because I didn't prepare well. And that's why preparation is so important to me with everything that I do. The second thing, which probably leads to, so first year out of school, we were playing in the Malmeninga Cup, which is like the feeder to the NRL, like the Toyota Cup at the time. And I was having like the most incredible campaign to date. Like, there was talks of me going to all these clubs and everything like that. And I was shaped up, so I was playing centre at the time against Lachie Maranta. So Lachie, if you're ever listening to this, you probably remember this. And Lachie Maranta went on to play 12 years of NRL. And he scooted past me, stepped me, and made me look like a fool. But as soon as I turned to sprint after him, it was like I got sniped in the back of the leg, and my hammy just went... And I dropped like a bag of potatoes. And I remember just being like the same sort of feeling, and watching what would happen. And I still got the divot in the back of my hammy now. And I was like, I have to get back up and play because there's scouts here. Like, this is my
Makes me
shot.
shudder just
And
thinking
so
about
the
that.
medics are coming over, and same thing. They're like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "Hammy for sure." They're like, "We're getting you off." I was like, "I'm not getting off. Like, I've got to stay on. Like, I'll figure it out." And I'm limping around. I was as useless as tits on a ball because I could not run. And same thing. Maybe 3 to 5 minutes later, I had to put my hand up and go off, and that was, I think, game 3 or 4 of a 8 or 9 game season, or like training period. And I knew that when I walked off, I was not getting back on again. And that was like that whole NRL thing was done, and I was like, why? And same thing. It's just like at that time I had a big tantrum and got on the drugs and the drinking, but it still sits in my head now that if I can just prepare well, I'm just as good as a lot of athletes out there, because I analyze things very well, and physically, like, I feel like I'm very talented in certain sports, and I just don't want to lose. So now the only reason why I don't achieve my goals is if I haven't prepared and stuff. So that's that. And I've had like 2 moments in my life that I would consider significant where I've had to pull out because of injury, which I could have prevented, and an asthma attack, which I probably also could have prevented.
So it sounds like physical limitations have kept your mental.
Yeah.
You've been there mentally,
Yeah.
and you've been so disappointed that your physical
Yeah.
limitations have prevented you from achieving
Yeah.
what you know you could achieve.
Yeah.
So now you're taking all the steps necessary to make sure that the physical limitations don't hold you back.
Correct.
And your body's going to be ready for it. And you're going to have your nebulizer.
I'm probably not going to have a nebulizer. I'll just have an asthma puffer.
Still a nerd
Yeah,
thing.
still a nerd thing. Not carrying a machine around. No, I haven't had an asthma attack for like a while.
Well, now you talked about wanting to inspire others. What is it? What specifically do you hope people take away from this? What do you want other people to watch and feel from you doing this? Is there a particular message or cause that you're running for? I know that you're a big advocate of mental health.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a bit about that?
For me, the mental health is, everyone has it. Like 40-something% experience negative mental health, but I think it's a day by day thing. But for me, having had friends take their life by suicide, watch people in my family deal with it, personally dealt with it, and just seeing the impact, the ripple effect that it can have. So not only does it impact the individual, but like how it impacts other people, is I'd love that the people that I can impact directly. I used to have this idea that I could completely change the world, probably similar to you guys being the first band to play on the moon. And over the years, I've realized, having worked in the space for a long while, spoken to so many people, spoken to other people doing work in that space, it's not possible. Like, I don't believe it's possible to change the world from mental health, but I believe I can change the direct people that I impact, that are gravitated to how I present myself from that manner. And that's what I want to do. Like, I want to prove to them that, firstly, I want to be genuine in the fact that my life's not perfect. I still struggle with stuff, but these are the things that are working well for me, and I believe they could help a lot of people, because I've seen it. And I always use Scotty Townsend, who you know as well, as a great example of that. When we did the 30 rowing marathons, he would have been 48 at the time, but he just showed up every day. He didn't make a big song and dance about it like I did, but he rocked up every day and set a goal of how many kilometers he was going to row. And that slowly started increasing. And this was a guy who, very quiet, very reserved, maybe lacked some confidence in his fitness ability and his physique, but over 30 days ended up rowing 2 full marathons, and I think it was 4 or 5 half marathons, having not really rowed before. And I just watched, like, if he pushed himself just because he committed to himself, but he was inspired by me doing it, it's transformed his life. It's also brought him into like the Man That Can project's community. He's got a heap of good mates. Like, he's still chipping away and changing his life. And for me, if people can see that and they go, oh, I just want to go run 5K with Lockie, I want to grab my mate, and then something that I say or the run that they go on and the person that they meet from these events gives them the opportunity to change their life, that's the job done. Because for me, I would not be in this position had I not met Amy, and obviously you guys, but I watched Amy when I first met her. Firstly, it was like a fresh start. She didn't really know my past. She did not know really anyone that I grew up with. So I didn't have that baggage that I had to explain or run through. So it was a fresh start. And then I was watching someone who was pursuing her dreams and had a great support network around her. So inadvertently, I was learning these things that you could chase your dreams, the importance of having good people around you. You're going to cop shit, like that's part of it. So it wasn't foreign to me when I started copying shit. And you just don't quit, and it'll figure. You're always sort of weaving to make things work, and that's what I've then gone on to do. And I hope to, I hope to other people I'm like they're Amy, not in the fact that they want to marry me, but it's like,
I'm sure there's a
but
few out there.
yeah, but it's like, okay, well, Lockie's given us really an inside scoop on what it takes, and he's talked about these things, presented opportunities, pushed himself. If I've failed plenty of times, then that's normal. I'm going to just take the normal path for me.
Yeah, that's great. And I love that moment when you hit whatever age it is, when you just stop giving a shit about what people think.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm not gonna keep changing my personality to fit into somebody else's idea of who I'm supposed to be. But like me with the pink hair and like crossing my legs right now, like there'd be somebody out there thinking, oh, what a pansy or whatever. But like I
didn't even think about that.
That's maybe not crossing my legs, but I know that there was a lot of people when I dyed my hair pink.
Yeah.
My grandma was like, why would you do such a thing? And there are people out there who were just like, George, why? That's just so atrocious.
Yeah.
But, their perception of me is not my perception of me. And that's the same with you. Like, whatever people think about you and the shit that they throw at you or the doubts and whatever they try and put onto you, that doesn't apply in your brain to what you think of yourself.
Exactly.
And when you finally realize that, it's so powerful.
It's freeing.
It's freeing.
Like, yeah, the fact that you're bold enough to walk around with pink, I love it. Like, I've learned so much from you, even over the years. I still remember, maybe it was 6 years ago or something, when you're first just like, man, you're just too rigid. Like, let's just have a day where you just do random shit. And that was hard for me to do, but I feel like I've definitely gotten much better at it. And you realize that the world's not going to collapse when you start doing that, and no one really gives a shit about you as much as you think they do. And that's when you can start having fun with it, because at the end of the day, a book that still, and I always talk about it, is The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying by Bronnie Ware, who's an Australian palliative care nurse, or was. She's now an author, obviously. And she wrote a book having worked with a lot of people on their deathbed. And she started, obviously, getting research done and writing things down around the 5 common regrets. And you're thinking about these people, some of them are, had great lives, 90s, good innings. And then there's some people who are 18 and they've been diagnosed with cancer. But they're all talking about the same things. And I thought to myself, it's stupid of me to think that I'm any different to those people. As much as I'm a testosterone-fueled young dude trying to make it in the world, I should probably listen to these people who are on or in a place where I'm going to be at some point. And so why would I not try and do the things that I genuinely want to do now? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. In a lot of the work that I do and a lot of the people that I work with, they want to do that, but it's so hard to do. And especially as we get older, we have more responsibilities. So we have mortgages, we have families, and all of those sorts of things, which I completely understand. You have to think about more decisions there. But if you're in a position like we are ultimately, or heading to, it's just like, now is the perfect time to do the things that you want to do. Like, I still can't believe that I'm running 58. I'm so excited, but I can't believe I've actually done it. Like, I can't believe it's actually happening. The fact that it was an idea that I said to Liam off the back of a call, to then go talk to Amy, and then I called Maddie Lancashire, and he's like, I'm in. And that was all I needed to go, okay, it's happening.
It's a legitimate
idea.
And
then we've started building this crew and, like, putting all the logistical stuff. And now it's not if, it's when.
Yeah.
And that to me is what's really exciting, because if I can just take 2 months out of my career and away from my family, which sounds ridiculous, to just go fucking run, anyone can do whatever they want. It sounds so dumb to say I'm taking 2 months out of my life to go run. But that's what for me is enjoyable.
And that's the brilliance of an idea, and that's what I love seeing time and time again. And it starts as this little seed that you have that doesn't feel like anything, but you plant it, and then from there it just starts to grow into some beautiful, redwood tree that eventually, it takes time, and it's going to have its setbacks, but eventually, you're going to be standing at this redwood tree that is of your own planting, and looking back going, oh my god, I can't believe. And that's how albums begin, with Sheppard. It's like one small idea of a theme or something that you then plant and water and grow. And I liken it to pottery sometimes, where it's you start with just a blob of nothing, and then you start to develop it and shape it and put the details in and cut bits away, and as it grows, it starts to take shape. That's the magic of it. But it always starts with this tiny little thing that feels so insignificant at the time, and so many people get to that point and go, oh, it's nothing, it's just a silly little thing. But it grows and it builds, and that's the beauty of time passing with an idea, is that it will always grow into something. Sometimes the tree dies, and that's okay. You can plant another one.
What can I ask you then? What has helped you through, if there was to be one thing that's helped you overcome the fear of not living a conventional life, meaning you've just chosen to chase the dream in an industry that just seems so freaking competitive and challenging, and I don't know how many musicians make a full-time career out of it. There must have been a point, or maybe there hasn't been, but has there been a point, firstly, where you've should probably go do something stable? And secondly, when you've had the fear to actually continue pursuing your dreams, because you do have a daughter, you have so many responsibilities like we do, but what's helped you overcome that fear to just keep cracking the whip at it?
Firstly, I'm asking the questions here, and this is my interview.
Yeah.
No, it's a great question. And there's not a day that goes by where I don't feel like I've completely fucked up my life by doing this. There's many, many times this year.
Even on your birthday?
Even on my birthday.
Because you ordered the biggest breakfast possible.
Yes, we've certainly messed up there. No, there's been plenty of moments this year in particular where we've hit rock bottom, and we've run out of money, and my wife is crying in bed because she misses her job and misses home, and I'm the one that's dragged her over there. And there's been some pretty dark moments where we've been like, well, we've screwed up. We gave everything away, and it hasn't worked out. But then you get on stage and you get in front of a crowd, and this is one part that you guys as the support team, you don't get, which is unfortunate. But standing up on that stage and feeling that what you're doing is actually making a difference to people's lives, and hearing the stories about how one of our songs, "The Best Is Yet to Come," has saved someone's life, or it got them through a divorce, or got them through cancer. And you hear these stories, and it becomes more than just you chasing a dream. It becomes something far greater and bigger than yourself. I love the way you eat that banana, by the way.
You're welcome. Got to keep my calories up.
But and it's those very fleeting moments that you get a glimpse into success, and that, to me, that's what success is. And it's the same as you. You've got banana on your microphone. I love it. It's those moments of fleeting, like, you get a peek into what you're doing is actually helping people and changing lives. And I think that's what keeps you going. There's nothing else that I'd rather be doing. And I've done the jobs. Like, I've worked in retail. I've worked at a cafe. It was very short-lived in both situations, because I just couldn't live a life where I wasn't in control, or I was being told what to do, or I didn't have that freedom to be able to just make my own decisions at any given point of the day. And there's times where I don't have that in the band. That we're on a tight schedule, and I'd love to stop at this national park and just go wandering around for a little bit.
Yeah.
But
the drone stops. We gave George 2 drone stops on this trip because he's just constant. Like, Liam and I went ahead the day before, and we literally arrived 4 hours before these guys because they kept freaking stopping. And so the next day, we're like, George, you get 2 drone stops. You better make them worth it.
But hey, look, now we got the footage, and nobody regrets it.
No, but we were also on time, so it was a win-win.
But I've also, I've learned to appreciate that those deadlines are going towards building something for us and ourselves, rather than being at a corporate job where I'm giving up my time and I'm sacrificing so much for somebody else's business or somebody else's dream. This is on my terms. It's me choosing to do this because it's building something for all of us rather than someone else. And I think that's what's kept me going.
I think it's interesting as well because we would be very different, almost polar opposites in how we go about doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what, for people listening, is we're both building what we believe to be the best life possible for ourselves, even though we're obviously family as well, but how we're going about doing it. And I've come from like a real rigid and time focused and managed
goal setting.
Like I'm like that end of the spectrum where yours is the complete opposite, but it's both worked out. Like obviously it's not always as you mentioned, the great day, but we're still making progress. So I think for people who maybe don't relate to the goal setting or the extremely managed time approach, like it's still possible, and vice versa. That's what I think is really cool.
Well, we're reaching the end of the interview here, ladies and gentlemen, but I'd like to there's two more questions that I'd like to ask. The first one is, when you cross the finish line on that 58th marathon, that very, very incredible moment when you just hit that finish mark with all the people around you that have been running, because you're finishing in Brisbane and it's going to be your hometown and all your friends, and it's the last run and everyone's going to be excited.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to be going through your head? Is it relief, pride, exhaustion,
Dude,
love? What is it?
Whatever I say now, it's probably going to be the complete opposite. I think it'll be definitely, I would imagine I would feel overwhelmed, but I'm also very excited to see who's there and who's had their own breakthroughs. Like that's what I really hope, and whether mum or dad listen to it, I really hope mum or dad do like a 5K. Like to me, that would be just killer. Or Linda, like people that I know and care about a lot, I would love to see them moving at the end of it. And even Hudson, like I love the idea of having Hudson run. So if I see people that I know that have done something that they normally wouldn't do, that's going to make me feel awesome. And obviously people that I don't know, so hearing that, but I definitely feel like it'll be a great moment to just be able to know that the next day I don't have to get up and do it all over again.
Mm-hmm. But you get to go to CMC Rocks.
Yeah, you get to go and rock
watch
out.
Amy absolutely
blow the roof off it.
Yeah. It's going to be...
No, I don't think I'll be able to. Similar to like, if someone were to ask you what it was like playing the AFL Grand Final, whatever, you can throw a few words out there, but I don't think you can ever truly put those moments into words.
Because the experience of the entire thing is, you can never predict what it's going to be, and so at the end of it, you don't know who you're going to be. You're going to be a completely different person. Literally. You don't know what that moment will hold for you.
Exactly.
And, I mean, can I just say, Hudson's going to be so proud of you.
I can't wait to see.
He's such a cool kid, and then like having you as his uncle is like he's going to grow up to be the most driven and like inspired young man. I can't wait to see his journey from watching you do this and how much it's going to change his life. And I mean, you've been like such an important fatherly figure in his life. And obviously he's got Cam and your mum and all that, but I think he looks up to you so much. And I'm really excited to see what his reaction is to you doing this. I think it'll be very cool.
Yeah, there's some kind words, but yeah, I'm pumped to see. That's going to be amazing.
All right, my final question. If you could give advice to someone who wants to take on a seemingly impossible challenge like this, what would it be?
Just truly take responsibility for it. I think it's everything that I talk about is personal responsibility. So if you're committing to it, then you have to find out how to make it work. Because when I started, and it's why I'm documenting so much of it around like how the hell I'm getting sponsors, learning about sponsor decks, the route, the planning, we're documenting all of it because for so many years, there's been many things that I've wanted to do and I haven't known what that next step is. And so I haven't done it. I remember, and no word of a lie, and I was speaking to Troy about this, who was my boss when I first was in Toowoomba. I wanted to run from Brisbane to Toowoomba. It doesn't seem like it's 178K.
It's usually the other way around.
Yeah. Sorry, Toowoomba to Brisbane. And I was looking at doing it and I had to go through each council. Like, this is how complicated I made it because I didn't ask people. No one was really doing it. So They're like, you need to get approval to run along the road through each council, and it ended up being like a lot of councils. So I just quit. I was like, nah. And I was thinking about that only a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, now I would just call the councils and sort it out and make that happen. Just like now I'm asking people in my network to help me, or, YouTube's a beautiful tool. Like everything is available for you to learn and put it together. And once again, there's going to be so many things that we couldn't have predicted we needed to have sorted when we start, but being able to, I trust that myself or Liam will be able to navigate that when it rocks up. So I think when you take personal responsibility for everything, it's you're choosing the results that you want and the outcomes that you want by how you respond to that.
Very good.
Put those glasses back on.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's about all we have time for today. Thank you for tuning into one of the most special and exclusive Man That Can podcasts around. What episode is this?
This 619.
619, absolutely. Well, that's a marathon.
That's a marathon in itself.
Lachlan, thank you so much for your time today, and we hope all the viewers at home garnered something from this. And I know I certainly did, and we all wish you the best in this absolutely insane endeavor.
Thank you so much. That was fun.
Thank you. Over to you in the studio.